Hello, welcome to the Black-Hearted Oracle. Today's a little bit different kind of video. What I would like to discuss is when you're attuning to your spiritual path, the different modes that we end up going through. When you're pushed into your path, the first thing that starts to happen is that you go through a dark night of the soul. And when many people hear this, they get it kind of confused because it comes with a lot of depression. It comes with a lot of being taken out of your comfort zone. It would be more like a tower moment that happens to you because your life gets disrupted. There's things that starts happening to drag you out of your normal mode of being. So when I first went, I had a few dark nights of the soul from very young all the way up to my most recent one. And the most recent one was, I don't know if I could say it was the most dramatically painful one that I went through, but what it did is that after it tore apart everything that was my normal way of being, it left an empty vessel. It left something that I had to rebuild and figure out the lessons from that. And I'm not going to tell you that these things are easy. They're very hard because they come with also ego deaths. Like a dark night of the soul and an ego death, they go hand in hand because we get so caught up in living a life of egoic presence. And that's normally when the dark night of the soul happens, is like we get to this pinnacle of where we think we want to be, but really and truly it is not in alignment to our higher purpose and our higher self. So what happens is the universe, creator, God, mother sustainer, whatever you subscribe to, spirit, whatever you subscribe to comes in and wreaks havoc because you haven't been fully listening to the inner nudgings. You haven't been listening to the whispers. Your life is out of balance with who you truly are on the inside. It's like you're playing a puppet show within your life. And what happens is that spirit comes and cuts the strings one by one. So if you're somebody who's holding fast to a job that is not serving you, that is eating away at your soul, but the finances are excellent, then what will happen is that job will get ripped from you. If you're in a relationship that you know is toxic and you're just so familiar with this person and you refuse to let them go, that person will cheat on you or decide that they are no longer wanting to partake in that relationship. Or it could just be simple that you have this deep sadness and you don't know why you have this deep sadness. You can have all the fun in the world. You could have the best friends, the best job, the best living environment, all the cars, all the trappings of success, but yet still there is a deep sadness and a deep longing for something more. And what will happen again with this ego death is that you get taken to a sunken place within yourself. And to me, that is that quiet place that I speak about at the end of my readings when I say that I hope that you find your higher self in the quiet places. Because sometimes it's hard for us to let go of everything that we've known to do something totally opposite from where we are. And especially when society gears you to be a certain way, when you have to meet certain standards. And normally with the dark night of the soul, all of that is void. Your friends no longer, not to say your friends aren't no longer your friends, but it's like that camaraderie that you guys have is no longer existence. There's something in you that separates yourself from that. If you're a person who was an addict of like illicit drugs, then those drugs don't get you high enough anymore. If you're a person that used to drink heavily and black out or whatever, not even black out, but somebody who just drank heavily to get you through the day, then you end up having to drink more and more. And then you have drunken nights and sorrowful mornings. If you're a person who likes to eat, then what happens is you have a lot of empty ice cream containers filled with tears. And it just becomes that cycle of degradation to the soul. And when the soul can't take that anymore, you go through a dark night of the soul. It is very hard, and the longer you fight it, the harder it becomes. It's something that you have to surrender to. It's something that you have to give way to. Because the minute that you bring up resistance, like in the tarot, we have the Tower card, right? And that's destroying anything that's not built on a solid foundation. And that's exactly what happens, is whatever in your life is not in alignment to your higher purpose or to your higher self is a faulty foundation, and it will be ripped from you. and it will happen in the most devastating way. Like, for instance, before I even started doing tarot, like my last dark night of the soul, well, not my last, the one before this last one, the second to last dark night of the soul that I had, that is what actually got me into reading tarot. Because I went on a research and development trip with my partner, my business partner, and my twin flame. And things hadn't been right in our relationship for so long, but we wanted to stick it through, and both were very toxic. I had my insecurities, he had his ways as well. And we went on this research development trip for the eco retreat that we're planning to bring forth, right, as our higher purpose. But we were both in toxic places. So when we went, that's when I found out that he had a whole nother relationship, and my whole world had imploded, because this was my business partner. This was the person that I had loved for many years. This is the person who had brought me from a life that I used to live and brought me into spiritual things, like learning about myself and learning about the path. And not in the same way, because he's not into tarot, he's not into certain type of things that I like now, but he is a spiritual person. He is somebody who pursues spiritual things. And we still had to grow, and we get caught up in this twin flame journey, and it's very hard to leave your twin and all these things that we're saying, but we have to realize that we both are on two separate journeys. We just choose to walk them together. So I know this video is predominantly about the dark night of the soul, but to me, it's all relevant with your spiritual path. And I just want to encourage you that when you are in that sunken place, you're going to meet the wounded inner child. And you're going to have to sit with that wounded inner child, because sometimes we have trauma that we've been hiding away and we're afraid to view. We're afraid to spread light to that trauma. We're afraid to go into those dark places within us. So we pretend, everything is all happy. Some people, they like to troll. They like to go on videos of people or pictures of people and hurt people. They say the meanest and most nastiest things. But when I see these things, I realize that you're coming from a hurt place. I realize that you're coming from a traumatized place. I realize that you probably didn't get enough hugs, and your trauma is spilling out onto the world. So those are people who are denying the dark night of the soul. They will try to do whatever it takes to have these distractionary tactics instead of really dealing with the soul's yearning. Because no matter what, everybody's soul, everyone's soul has this inner calling, a quiet voice, but it requires meditation. It requires you to still the mind. It requires you to be honest with yourself. Because you could lie to this whole world, but you will never be able to lie to yourself. And that's why a lot of people like multiple partners, like partying so much, like buying things, because it keeps them distracted from the self. A lot of people don't like to really stare at themselves in the mirror, right? Because you can look into your own soul and you can see all the things that you're trying to cover up. A lot of people don't like to be alone in a quiet place, because it's the devil energies that will repeat over and over in your head all your mistakes that you've made, all the things that you've done wrong, all the ways that you thought that you failed, and not realizing that those are the things that salt and pepper your life to get you the kind of life that you deserve. And out of your pain is what you're supposed to build out of. The sunken place is not a bad place to be. It's bad to stay there. But it's required for your higher ascension. You have to deal with the past traumas. You have to deal with the things that you're stuffing down in that box that you don't want anyone else to see and you don't want to bring to the surface as well. What I loved about 2020, I know everyone, 2020 is the worst year ever. Oh my God, like having a total conniption fit. Like, I totally get it. But what I liked about 2020 and what the readings, when I do collective readings, what they've been telling us is that 2020 is a reset. And it might be a reset economically, technological wise, but I'm not speaking like that. I'm speaking to people who are on the cusp of something great within themselves. And when I say that, I cannot tell a person what their path is. I cannot tell them what their higher purpose is. That is not for me to choose for you. Your higher purpose is whatever you decide to give your life to. Whatever inner longing you decide to bring and share to the world. Because we're all born with talents. Maybe another person has 10 and you only have one. But that one talent that you have can be so great and grand that it explodes and gives you everything you ever desired in your life. But you have to nurture that talent. And you can't look at another's talent and be envious of it. Because if you're trying to live another person's past, you'll never get to where you're wanting to be. And the only place that we really affect change is in the present moment. So I know a lot of people, they want to get to the good stuff. You know, they want to get to being back out there, you know, to go out there again and enjoy life like they used to. But to me, the world got sunk into the dark place with 2020 because a lot of us had to sit with our partners. A lot of us had to sit with ourselves. A lot of us couldn't go anywhere to distract ourselves. And when we sat here alone within our own bubbles, because when you're quarantining with a person or you're quarantining by yourself, you get to see that person. There's nowhere for them to run and hide the darkness that's within them. There's nowhere for them to run and hide the sadness. You know, the reasons why they need to go out, the reason why they always need to be on, you know, and it was a great opportunity. And it still is a great opportunity for all of us to really have our come to Jesus moment, as they would say, to be face to face with who we are. Because there comes a time where we're going to have to be honest with ourselves. You have to ask these questions of yourself at some point in your life. Are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Does the life that you're living have true meaning for you? Not for your parents, not for your children, not for your boss, not for your colleagues, not for your friends, not for your family. Does the life that you have chosen for yourself bring you the gratitude, the happiness, the fulfillment that you thought it would? And if it doesn't, wouldn't now be the perfect time to change? Wouldn't now be the time to ask yourself these questions and really figure out if you're gonna live the rest of your life exactly how you've lived it before? Would it now be the perfect time to delve deep within, to go to that sunken place, that dark night of the soul? It doesn't have to be something where it's the worst thing that ever happened to you. And I guarantee you, when you're going through it, you will feel like that. You will feel like, why me? Like, what have I done in this life that's so terrible that this should be happening to me right now? But hindsight 2020, but hindsight, you'll realize that if you didn't get that dark night of the soul and take full advantage of it, the brighter day wouldn't come. You'd always be stuck in a repetitive cycle of highs and crashing lows, right? Because life is about the lessons. And when we choose to stay stuck in repetitive patterns and not grow and learn the lessons become harder. Okay? So just take this time, and if you are going through the dark night of the soul and you're suffering from depression and thoughts of suicide, because it can go there. Because a lot of us, we have a deep trauma. So if you are suffering from these things, there's helplines. There's information out there that you can take, you know, and I would suggest too that, okay, I should have said this in the beginning, but I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm a person who's on her spiritual journey, and I've learned a lot throughout this lifetime, and I would love to share what I've learned. So I want to tell you that there's resources out there for you. And what I've found that helped me is the B12 complex vitamins, or your B complex vitamins, especially B12, because what it does is it helps you balance out your emotions. It balances out hormones in your body. So it's wonderful when you're going through this to be honest with yourself. If you need to cry, cry. Stop holding tears in. Tears are meant to wash the soul. So don't hold it in. If you need to scream, scream. You know, there's different ways to work through these energies. and you'll be so much better for it. Okay, I hope this video wasn't too long, but I thank you so much for coming to the Black Hearted Oracle. And as always, I would like to give homage and reverence to Mother Sustainer, Father Creator, and of course my beautiful ancestors. And I hope that you find your higher self in the quiet places, and may my aunt hold you in her loving grace. Ashe.